Okay, got it. We're going to wait the 2 more minutes and then we'll get started. Hello, Esther. Welcome. We're going to start in a few minutes, okay?
מעולה, יש לנו כתוביות בשידור. מצוין. הנה, כולם מגיעים. בהצלחה. עוד דקה וחצי.
One more minute. Down. Good. 4 seconds.
Good evening. We have people on Facebook too. Good evening, Gabriela, Eliza.
Hello, good evening. Welcome. And
Start.
we're starting.
And action.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Sarah Black-Charm. I'm the chef and the owner of HealthEat. And throughout my experience and career, I've traveled the world as a kosher personal chef and got more and more involved in the healthy adapted foods, food sensitivities, allergies, chronic diseases. And as soon as COVID hit, I figured I'll try this out. And I hired Judy, our nutritionist. And together we started building food plans for people according to what they need and what they want. And we send them food on a regular basis. And I'm happy to introduce Judy. Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Judy Kaiser. And yes, I'm the HealthEat nutritionist. And I have a background in nutrition, starting from my undergrad through my graduate degree, both in nutrition and food science. And I was trained as a registered dietitian. So I had a lot of experience, but I decided I really wanted to spend most of my time working with the individual, working with people, working with families, children, and really helping them learn how to eat to better their health. And what better person to work with than a chef? Because it's always a challenge. I can talk till my face turns blue and tell people how to eat and ways to do it. But sometimes it's a bit overwhelming. And to have someone cook the food for you according to your needs is like a dream come true. So this matching is really perfect for both of us. And we've been able to help each other and expand our careers that way. And I'm really happy to be here. And as you all know, we're here to talk about food allergies and food sensitivities and everything that we do that correlates to that. So I think we'll get started. Okay. Oh, and one thing, if you have any questions throughout, please take out your notebook and your pen and take notes in general. We're going to be going through a lot of material, interesting material, and you can also write down your questions and we'll try to address them as well as we can towards the end of the live. And what I wanted to say was also, not only our clients learn from us, we learn from them, and together we build a very healthy relationship, and we happen to love what we do, and we hope that it shows. So any questions, anything, we'll be more than happy to answer. Okay. Well, I'd like to start, first of all, by talking about, well, what is a food allergy? What is a food sensitivity? What is an intolerance? There's all these terms that are associated with the whole picture of food allergies. So first of all, the general term for whether it's a food allergy or a food intolerance is sensitivities. You can kind of use that as your general term. I have a food sensitivity. Then beneath food sensitivities, it's divided into food allergies, food intolerances,
And those are two different things. So food allergy is often referred to as a hypersensitivity. It's your body reacts to a food in an immunological way, meaning that you eat a food and your body thinks this is a foreign invader, and your immune system starts to attack that invader by producing what are called immunoglobulins, particularly what's called IgE, immunoglobulin E, which causes a whole bunch of events in your body that cause these symptoms that we associate with a food allergy. And typically they're very quick responding to the food, immediate, like within a few minutes to maybe 2 hours, but it's pretty quick. And it'll be things like low blood pressure, itching, swelling. Sometimes it is vomiting, closing of the airways, coughing, things that relate to the respiratory system. It could be a breakout, hives and rashes and things like that, but it happens pretty quickly and it's an immune response.
So a lot of people ask me, is celiac an allergy? I know that it's not, but let's talk
Okay.
about that a little bit, because it's a big thing and a lot of people are dealing with it. And when they find out that they or their kids have celiac, they're very lost.
Yes, it's a bit of a
So,
panic too,
yeah,
for sure. Celiac is not considered a food allergy. People don't have an immediate immune response to celiac. Celiac falls under intolerances, which is basically the body's difficulty in digesting or processing a food. So in the case of celiac, the person has an intolerance to gluten, the protein that's in wheat and rye and barley and oat and all the associated wheat grains like spelt and kamut. So that person, when they eat gluten, their body's not able to digest it very well, and it actually causes harm to the intestinal tract. It actually flattens out these like villi, we call it, the little finger-like parts of the intestines that help with absorption and digestion. They get destroyed or flattened out, and then the person can suffer from all types of symptoms that are not healthy. They're not life-threatening at the time, but over time, if a person keeps eating gluten and destroying their digestive tract, they're going to suffer from nutrient deficiencies and possibly other effects on the body and on the immune system, on growth and things like that. So it is not considered an allergy, it's considered an intolerance. Or like lactose intolerance gives it away. It's not an allergy, it's an intolerance. People don't digest the carbohydrate in dairy, the lactose, and they're missing the enzyme lactase, and then they have trouble digesting that, and it causes GI symptoms, primarily diarrhea or cramping or gas. So that's also an intolerance. So there is a difference, and the words are sometimes used interchangeably, but people can get in a panic if they hear, oh my gosh, I have an allergy to, it may not be a hypersensitivity. It may just be an intolerance or a sensitivity that is not allergenic. Does that make sense?
yeah, it makes sense. And I want to say, we're not open for questions yet, but if you want to type your questions in the chat here, we will address your questions later. Okay, so that is absolutely possible.
Okay, so I also wanted to say that when we talk about food sensitivities, sometimes they're very often times that they're not a pure allergy where, you know, you eat the food and you get the itch, or you eat the food and you start to swell up, or you eat the food and you immediately vomit. It's not so easy. Sometimes we could be sensitive to a food and the reaction can happen in 2 hours, in a day, and it could be something that we suffer with on a daily basis, a headache, joint pain, chronic skin issues. So those could be called delayed sensitivities or just food sensitivities, and they're harder to figure out. We can't always find them on a test. So really the only way to figure it out, or not the only way, but the easiest way, not so easy, is elimination.
Right.
Where you would remove that food and you'd see how you feel off of it, and then reintroduce it and see if there's any symptoms associated. So there's also those types of sensitivities.
Yeah.
And there's even sensitivities to not the food, but a compound that's in the food or on the food. There are people that are sensitive to pesticides. So they might think they have an allergy to an apple, but it might be the pesticide that's on the apple. Or they could be allergic to a natural chemical found in the foods, like a sulfite or a salicylate. or something that's a part of the food, but not actually the food. And then when they eat too much of that food, that's when they start to have symptoms. So it's a very complex subject, actually,
Yeah.
and that's why we wanted to talk about it.
So I also wanted to talk to you about babies.
Hmm.
When we have a baby, and we all love and care about our babies, but is, for example, hypothetically speaking, a mother sees a rash and she knows she has allergies, they have allergies in the family. How do you recommend they treat it or look into it without panicking, of course? Even though I have a tendency of that as a mother. So
Well, I don't treat anything. I'm a nutritionist. I'm not a physician. So the first thing I would do is say, go to your dermatologist or go to your primary care, make sure it's not fungal or related to the digestive system in some way. There could be other reasons. But if they say, well, my doctor says it's food related, then yeah, it can get kind of tricky. But the first thing is to think about what the child is eating. If their child has just been weaned and they're on some kind of formula, they're not eating that many foods. So maybe it is soy, maybe it is dairy. Because the most common food allergies that there are things like dairy, soy, wheat, egg, peanut. There's some that are very common. So those would be the first ones that we think about. And we'd consider maybe swapping, trying to eliminate one of those and work with another alternative to see if it makes a difference. But it doesn't mean that that's it. If you start giving this child this food, they're going to suddenly become anaphylactic. Or if you keep giving this child this food, they're going to have all these problems. You may even be able to give them that food again sometime down the line. It could just be that the child has not developed all the proper digestive mechanisms for that food.
Is that connected to the fact that there are a lot of kids who are allergic to things and then they grow out of it?
Grow out of it, yeah. You can grow out of an allergy because of digestive developmental improvements, so that you digest the food better and then you assimilate it better. You don't have problems with it. It could just be developmental, and it could just be that you grow out of it, something you're sensitive to at a younger age, and then as you mature and get older, we don't see the allergy as much. But again, if it's something very severe, if a child had an anaphylactic response, you would never want to assume that allergy is gone or try to figure it out on your own. You always want to take it to the allergist or your physician before you try to play around with those.
Right. So I'm going to talk firsthand experience.
Oh,
I have a daughter who's 22 now, and she developed a severe allergy to sesame and tree nuts at the age of 15. She always said that she didn't like it. She didn't feel so good when she had sesame. And then one day she went to a restaurant with her father and had a dessert that had pecans in it. And she was rushed to the hospital with an anaphylactic shock. And turns out she's very severely allergic. And she's been running around or carrying an EpiPen with her everywhere she goes. And she was actually on her way back from Germany yesterday and checked all of the ingredients of what she bought. And she had a severe attack yesterday. She gave herself the EpiPen and it wasn't enough. So she was rushed to the hospital.
wait, where was she? What country?
In Germany, in Munich.
Oh my gosh.
And so from my perspective, and I'm dealing with this for many years now, well, with my daughter, but with HealthEat, we started really looking into these things. And now I am the mother who's worried, sending her daughter away. I can't help her. And I'm thankful that she was responsible. This is also what we tell anyone that comes in, and we help with their food and allergies. But she saved her own life, and I'm just a scared mother now, right now.
Oh, it's terrifying.
So I wish I could send her food. Now she's back and she asked me for food, so I'll do that. But in terms of that, and what we say to everyone that joins our program, and even to my own daughter, is it's our responsibility to ask and to question and to carry the EpiPen and not hesitate to take it and ask for help, because this really could save our lives. And it's not always avoidable. So thank God she's with us.
Yeah.
And she's back in Israel. So yeah, that's just on the personal level.
Stressing the importance of the EpiPen, and people who have severe allergies and have anaphylactic reactions which are life-threatening reactions. The airways can close and breathing can stop and the heart can stop. Very scary things, but the EpiPen is what people with severe allergies will carry around, so that anytime they suspect or know they're exposed to something they're allergic to, they can then immediately, or someone else can inject the epinephrine and try to calm down the symptoms, and then go to the hospital and take care of the situation. It's terrifying. Poor Sarah told us about this. Her daughter wasn't even in the country. And it
Right.
reminds us, we have clients that we get that come from, they're here for a year or they're here on a tour with severe allergies, and sesame is very common. And in Israel, sesame is very common and very hard to avoid, almost
Yeah.
impossible to avoid if you're trying to eat else outside your own home. And we always start off by reiterating that important factor that we can do our best to feed them the allergen-free foods, but they've got to have that EpiPen and be very careful, always looking into what they're being fed and what they eat. Wow, terrifying.
Yeah, so I could really relate to, this is actually what inspired me to start this whole thing, and we're happy to be able to help. And
So Sarah, you said something really interesting. You said that your daughter always sort of had a problem with sesame, like she
Right.
she never really liked it. It didn't speak well to her, if you could say that. So it's interesting in my experience, and also hearing from other people that work with food sensitivities and food allergies, that oftentimes there's two sides to this. Oftentimes a person will just not like that food, or not like a food, another food. They know they have allergies, and there's certain foods that they just, something that we say, maybe you should listen to your intuition, because it could be that that food doesn't agree with you in some way.
right,
On the flip side, we also see that people that have food sensitivities, oftentimes it's to foods that the sensitivity is not the allergy so much, that a food that they really like winds up being the food that they are most sensitive to, or that's a culprit in their symptoms. And it's hard to know if it's because they had a sensitivity and they ate too much of the food and then it got worse, or by being overexposed to that food, they wound up with a sensitivity. So there's all these interesting layers that we have to consider when we talk to people about food sensitivities. And it's important to listen to your body. Sometimes our body gets mixed up with our head, heart, and intestines get all confused on what's really needed or wanted or desired for the right or wrong reasons. But if you're feeling, your intuition is saying, hey, I don't want to eat sesame,
yeah.
there may be something to it. You never know.
Not to say that every time you say, well, I really don't like cilantro, I'm not gonna go and test myself if I'm allergic to it.
Right.
It's like just a reason to avoid it. And not everything is connected, but yes.
But you'd be surprised. Can you think, Sarah, some of the different food like people that came to us with kind of different food sensitivities than you're used to seeing?
It's a good question. I think
Most of them are
most of them are common. Sesame is a big one, especially with people who come to Israel for a while and are not is like sabras. And my daughter is a sabra, so but I think that the weird things that we saw is not an allergy or food sensitivity. It's just to avoid it in order with a chronic disease more
Right.
than just an allergy. And we could talk about that if you want.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I don't know, I'm sure there might be people out there that hear a lot about nightshade vegetables, and people will come and say, I have an allergy to nightshades, which is not common. Again, the word allergy gets thrown in, but it is something that people can be sensitive to, or it may not be advised, like that's what
Right.
Sarah's saying, like
It's
sometimes
just
people.
not
will-
agreeing with your
Right.
body at this point, which is a lot of low FODMAPs as well.
Right, we'll talk about FODMAPs, that's a whole nother subject, but with the nightshades, they're not always recommended, is what I want to say.
Right,
That there's people that suffer from a chronic inflammatory disorder like arthritis, and nightshades are oftentimes associated, not oftentimes, they can be associated with inflammation. There's a compound in those nightshade vegetables, which by the way are potato, tomato, eggplant, peppers, and tobacco, but we don't need that. They're a family of vegetables that grow at night, and they have a compound in them that can contribute to inflammation. So sometimes people come and it's not so much that they have a sensitivity, but they're trying to avoid having some sort of condition based on what they're eating. So nightshades is not usually an allergy, it's more of an avoidance for a health reason.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I get the feeling that most avoidance of nightshades and these type of foods is related to really digestive issues, which a very sensitive stomach.
Right. You've mentioned, Sarah mentioned before, FODMAPs kind of in the background. FODMAPs is a specific diet. It relates to removing certain carbohydrates from the diet that can cause discomfort and symptoms in what we call the microbiome or in the digestive tract. So oftentimes it can just be that it's a digest IBS or colitis, an inflammatory bowel disease, or usually IBS just covers all those things that aren't diseases. That it can be that there's a sensitivity or an intolerance more of not being able to digest certain foods well, or they don't, and then they disrupt the floral environment in the intestines, and that further leads to more digestive issues, and it becomes problematic. Those are actually harder sometimes to pinpoint what
Right.
the food is. So then they go on these specific carbohydrate diet or a FODMAPs diet to sort of eliminate a category of foods that can cause digestive issues. So those are tricky, but we've handled those. We've had a few of those people
Yeah.
too who suffer unfortunately with these chronic digestive complaints and trying to get to the bottom of it through food.
Right. Okay.
So maybe we should talk a little about like, well, how do we do that? When we have a person who comes to us with the food sensitivity or allergy, and how do we help them?
Okay, so let's take our most recent case. Somebody is coming to Israel for the year, a yeshiva boy, and a gap year student, and he is coming in with a lot of allergies, which are sesame, all tree nuts, a lot of seeds, fish,
Mustard.
beans,
beans will get
legumes,
mustard,
all seeds, I think,
Most of
aside
that
for
goes-
like flax
yeah.
and pumpkin seeds, but and this specific person also carries an EpiPen everywhere he goes, and his mom is amazing
Yeah,
at home. She is so careful and she
and
just-
educated.
yes,
As we say, we learned from
absolutely.
her and we will continue to learn from her.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because she has so much experience.
Right. So first of all, what we do is we take an intake call and we listen very carefully to what this person could have and can't have and what he likes to eat, which is important too. And then we open up a WhatsApp group, and there we communicate, and we find a lot of people in the intake call didn't remember everything, and that is where the relationship starts. And we build a menu for them according to what we've learned from the intake call and the WhatsApp group, and then we send the menus out to the client to confirm the menus. We listen carefully to the feedback, and we really learn within time about quantities, quality, what they enjoy to eat and what makes them feel good as well. So this is really how we tackle it.
They're able to feel safe. I mean, this is a person who's coming to Israel, isn't from Israel, it's from another country. and wants to do his gap year in Israel, but yet has all these food allergies. And I'm sure we know he's worried. We know his mother's worried, and the schools can only do so much. You know, it's not their fault. They have limited budget, limited time, limited responsibility. So we can come in and help this person at least have several, if not all, their meals delivered to them based on what's safe for them to eat. So it's really satisfying, and it's very meaningful for us to be able to help people in this way, whether they're here for the year or we have another person coming. We've had people during the summer, they come
Right.
on a family trip, a bar mitzvah trip or a tour, and it's the same problem. They're in a foreign country. They only can eat what they're offered, and it isn't necessarily safe enough for a person who has food allergies. So we're able to actually deliver food to, catch up with the tourists somewhere to their
Right.
hotel or in the middle of the desert. I don't know. We deliver.
Yeah, we were all over. I wanted to ask you something, but I don't remember what it was.
Well, we could talk about when we create these menus and we know, let's go back to celiac for a minute. Someone
Okay.
who comes to us who's celiac, who cannot have gluten or anything that may contain gluten. It's really important to keep their diets very clean of gluten from the micromole, from the very small molecular size. We'll come up with a menu, and it's based on both of our experience. But Chef Sarah, she has she has to create a food that, like a bread.
Yeah,
Let's say we're going to give them a sandwich. We'll put that on the menu.
yeah.
So how do you handle, like, what would be your main substitutes if you were making a bread, let's say?
So really what I do is I go into regular recipes. I like to explore. I'll go into pictures and regular bread recipes about bread. We love bread. And then I started out by varying it. So we had a client, a young child who had diabetes, and he just couldn't have all those carbs. So I came up with an amazing cauliflower bread recipe based on a regular bun. And we still have it on our menus.
It's popular.
And it's very popular. And as one of our chefs said, please give me that recipe. It tastes like a cloud. It's so good. It's vegan. It has no sugar in it. And
Has cauliflower in it.
and
Actual cauliflower.
applesauce.
Applesauce is,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really.
But I've been using a lot of oat flour, gluten-free oat flour, which is also on the healthier side. And when I first started, we had a client who wanted to try out more of the plant-based foods. And I found in Rami Levy, the frozen, what was it? It was like patties. Remember?
Oh, when you were making that vegan.
The bean lentil.
Yeah.
And Judy came in and she's like, this is very processed. You can't use it. And I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? So I made up a recipe, and we still use that too. The thing is just thinking outside of the box. If it goes with color, goes with smell, it goes with taste also most times. And we're just not afraid to say, let's try it.
She's more not afraid to say, let's try it. I come in and say, well, we can't use this processed starchy substitute that, we got a question. Actually, I wanted to bring up this question we got from someone that if I, my child is gluten-free and I give them gluten-free, are they necessarily going to be healthier? And it's a really good question, because yes, they'll be healthier if you get them off gluten if they have celiac, for sure, because with celiac, they're destroying their intestines, but the gluten would destroy their intestines. But the gluten-free products that are on the market aren't always the healthiest things to eat, because
Right.
they are made up of a lot of processed starches. And especially with diabetes, also, there's people that have autoimmune rampant, and they're not only diabetic, but they also can't tolerate gluten, or they're celiac and diabetic. And then they really have to watch their starches, but everyone should really be watching their intake of processed foods and starches. So then I say, Sarah, we can't use this. What can we use instead? So we think together, we think of whole grains that are not gluten containing, that still contain nutrition, whether it's buckwheat or kasha, some of you may heard of,
Right.
or quinoa. These also come in flours or as grains, quinoa, kasha, millet. We got to get more into amaranth, which is not so easy to come by. Whole rice versus white rice. Things like that, oat flour that's gluten-free, or if someone, can tolerate, if they're not celiac, they might be able to take regular oat flour.
Right.
And then we can make these meals that would traditionally, or these dishes that traditionally would not be so nutrient dense because of the products that are in them. And we try to make them more nutrient dense, so the person's not losing nutrients at the same time as not getting the gluten.
I just wanted to say, it's a little bit late, but we are located in Efrat and
Israel.
in Israel. A year and a half ago, we moved into our kitchen right here. We're certified by the health ministry. We have a dairy and meat kitchen, and we're certified Mahadran kosher. Just a little break on that. And we're starting to get questions. We will address them soon.
Yes,
Okay.
we just have a few more things we wanted to talk about. Let's talk about, we talked about replacements for flours. What about, let's say someone has an allergy to egg and they're vegetarian. Let's throw that in, because egg's not the only source of protein. You can get protein from all animal products. So let's say they're vegan or vegetarian. We have someone actually who's joining us, a client that she's a vegetarian. She does eat a little bit of dairy. Egg, she prefers not to have, not a big fan of fish, and no meat or chicken.
Really mostly vegan.
Yeah, she's mostly vegan. So, okay, so what do you do? Let's say you want to make some sort of omelet type thing or a muffin type thing. What would be a way to handle that?
So for the muffins, I use a lot of the milks or the butters, the almond milk, which agrees with that actual client, almond butter, which is also very healthy, and then we'll talk about smoothies. And we've been using tempeh, which is great for patties. It is full of protein.
Yeah,
And-
tempeh is a fermented soy product. Tofu and tempeh are very nutritious soy products. They're not processed in a detrimental way, like a lot of those meat things that we brought in at one point.
Right.
So they're really a good source of protein, and they're vegan.
And we'll use peanut butter, and we'll use trina if they're not allergic to it.
Right.
And we'll use beans and legumes if there aren't any allergies, of course, but those are also good sources of protein. We make an amazing cashew cheese and sauces. And if you don't mind talking about the pluses of nuts.
Oh, nuts are my favorite. Sarah knows that. I think I'm always pushing nuts to those. Look, not to people that can't eat them for allergenic or sensitivity reasons, but for someone who doesn't have any sensitivities, all the nuts, not just the almonds and walnuts that get a lot of press, all of the nuts are rich in so much nutrition. They're non-perishable. They're so easy to just take and go. Yes, you do need to control your intake because they are predominantly fat. Their makeup is fat, a little bit of protein. They do have some fiber, some B vitamins and minerals, a little bit of carbohydrates, but that healthy fat is necessary. And many people are still thinking fat-free, low fat, and it's really not doing them good. So nuts are just really good. They're helpful for diabetics for balancing their blood sugar better. Eating a fruit and a nut together is a great way to balance the blood sugar and their body's response to sugar. And it is a good way for someone, a vegan or vegetarian, to increase some protein and nutrition in their smoothies if they're not using yogurt or not using milk, or in granola. So it's not just oats, or a snack we make energy balls out of them, which is
Right.
like a nut date combination. We have granola bars that have no added sugar that are predominantly date, nut, oat. So we like to use them when we can and when our kitchen allows for it. Go nuts.
Okay,
And seeds, same thing with the seeds.
so how would you recommend making a smoothie for our yeshiva boy?
Ooh, okay, so for someone who has a nut seed, well, the seeds that he can have, in other words, there are some people that are only allergic to specific seeds. So if there are any seeds like flax and chia, I like to put one or both into a smoothie because it adds fiber, essential fats, some protein, minerals, iron and calcium, particular magnesium, and it can help bulk it up. Sometimes if there's not enough like thick stuff in it, it comes out runny. It also absorbs fluid, so it can get the smoothie thicker. But it certainly will hold you out longer if it's got those things in it. Can't use the nut butters. You could put something like avocado in a smoothie, which will also bulk it up nutritionally. Not so much protein, but still really good, healthy fats and other nutrients that are really helpful. You can put tofu in a
Right.
smoothie also. What makes a smoothie healthy is the fruit, but not only the fruit, and also how much you put in. So I like to keep my smoothies like a serving of fruit. Those really good ones like the berries, not necessarily
Pineapple,
bananas,
yeah.
pineapple, mango we use, but not everyone likes bananas, so we don't always put banana, and you don't have to. Sometimes using a date will thicken it and sweeten it. You won't need to add any sweetener. So that's probably what we would do, something like a fruit and if a seed is available, if not, then something like avocado or tofu. And we'll blend it all up. Oh, and we also put something green in there. It's a good
Like
opportunity.
spinach?
Like spinach and even broccoli. Frozen broccoli usually doesn't change the taste. And if a person doesn't mind that it's thicker, maybe a little bit textural, it works great, broccoli and spinach. Some people put kale and things like that. We don't have that available to us, but I think sometimes it makes it bitter. So I like those two the best for the greens.
Well, we add berries also, and then it's a good smoothie. Especially for diabetics.
Yeah, we are able to give diabetics by limiting the amount of fruit we put in, not adding any sweetener and keeping it balanced with nuts and seeds and things of that nature. So we even are able to serve that to our pre-diabetics or diabetics. Everybody's different. Everyone knows their individuality, and we always pay attention to what people tell us. If they say, my sugar spikes up with this or that, we listen. We know that everybody's body responds differently, so we don't make
Right.
any assumptions about that.
Okay, do you want to ask a few of the common questions?
Oh, okay,
we
so
have?
some of the questions I saw we got in when we were advertising this live. So someone says, I have a niece who's vegan, and I'm looking for ideas what to make her for a main course on Shabbat or some sort of event. And that can happen nowadays if you tend to host people and have people to your home for whatever holidays, and suddenly a vegan, oh my gosh. It can be very alarming, but there are a lot of main course ideas. Maybe Sarah, you want to tell some of the things that you've done that are very successful as far as a vegan main?
Well, my personal favorite is the carrot chickpea burgers and the vegan meatloaf. They're a little different, but they are fulfilling. They're delicious. We're happy to share the recipes later on. And
Yeah, it seems like
It's
they've been
just-
tested. We get a lot of good feedback on those, and what's really great is they're kind of healthier than meat. No, they have a lot of vegetables in them. So you can feel like, even by eating that, you're getting protein, you're getting vegetables, you're getting a lot more nutrition than just a piece of chicken maybe, but
Right.
no offense to the chicken. No, but those are really good ideas, using beans and legumes and vegetables and nuts and seeds. Also, all that stuff can be combined and create really interesting patties and loaves, and or using tempeh, like you said, tempeh and tofu are also great sources of protein for vegans. And we are happy to share our recipes, and there's really a lot out there online too. There's no lack.
Right.
Another one are these bowls I see everywhere. We see now these poke bowls and all sorts of vegetable bowls. Are they really healthy? That's also a very good question. And it applies to a lot of other foods that claim that sound healthy, but are they really healthy, like a smoothie? So bowls are made in all shapes and sizes and have different ingredients. The concept, from what I understand, is that it's got vegetables, grain, and some sort of protein in a bowl, and it's like a one meal deal. But I have seen bowls that are not so balanced, meaning that they're a lot of grain, a sprinkling of vegetable, and a sprinkling of protein. And, restaurants have to budget what they're putting in things.
Which
But-
is interesting because the vegetables are
Yeah.
sometimes cheaper than the grain.
But maybe it's the protein part. But really, the ideal bowl should really be, the bulk of it should be the vegetables. And then you have a sprinkling of grain and you have a nice portion of protein, and you want to incorporate healthy fats into them. So sometimes you don't know what you're getting until you order it, until you get it, until you receive it. It might look different when it's written, when the picture on the menu shows you something or what's listed. But if you want to create your own healthy bowl, you really want to think of it as at least half a variety of vegetables, some sort of healthy fat, avocado, tahina, nuts or seeds, and also a protein in there, usually, whether it's fish or chicken or beans, and then some grain, quinoa, whole rice, kasha, millet, those types of things.
We like to add our vegetable patties to the bowls as well, especially if they're vegan, so that there's another source of protein. I do want to pay attention
Oh, okay.
to Esther's question. Okay,
Should we read it out?
yeah.
Okay, given the restrictions when looking for products with allergen warnings and the number of products that are so limited because of the allergens which might be in these products, is there a list of importers or manufacturers here in Israel from whom it is possible to purchase safe products? For example, before Pesach, the go-to store for raisins and other dried fruit was Supersol. They changed their supplier. I finally found raisins imported from California at a store in Renana. Thank God. Now that store is closing, so this source is going away. Also, different items are available in different areas. Besides, there is a limited amount of space. It's a very complicated.
But good question.
Yeah, good question. I'm saying that whole subject is complicated because in Israel we get a lot of imported things. So we might find something that works and then it's gone. Do you have any advice for as far as importers?
I'm just going to separate between Pesach and the rest of the year, because I think that for Pesach, I ran into it when I was looking for almond butter, which we know is not kitniot, and it's at 100% almond butter, and I have no idea why they write on it kitniot, and it's more politics than anything else, in my opinion. And until I found actually the certified almond butter, that's when I could breathe. But I think that everything is individual, and can't always call everyone, especially not in Israel. They don't really have time for us.
Or anywhere to call. Things are not as standardized here, which is unfortunate. We're getting there, but it's not, there's a lot more standardization in other countries, especially in America. So it is frustrating.
Yeah.
That's why we are open to learning, like from yourselves. If you find products, you find a manufacturer of a product that is safe, and whatever that safety place is, whether it's food allergies or kashrut or Pesach, we are more than happy to hear about it.
Right.
But it is a frustrating topic for us because sometimes their labels are too
Informative, that confuses you.
yeah,
but,
right.
What I would say is also, in terms of the politics, they import things. A lot of, like, especially with the Supersol and Rami Levy, and they go under their own labels, and they probably all import them from the same place. So I would look into that, where it comes from. And that may help. Okay. I'm happy to open up for questions now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, just while the questions are coming in, when we were talking about this person who asked about their niece coming, we're getting prepped for this because of the Jewish high holidays that are coming up, and we do get orders for people who just want good food and homemade food. And we do get orders from people that are having company that are challenging for them, gluten-free, sesame allergy, vegan, whatever the case may be. And so anytime we come up with a menu for an event or a holiday, we're always keeping in mind that there will be people that will want to order food that's safe for them.
And we will
always
customize
accommodate.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, we will always accommodate that.
We have another question
Okay.
here.
Yes,
My
there's a
son-
question from the community. You want me to read?
Yes, please.
My son will turn 6 in a month, and some of the kids invited are allergic to nuts and peanuts. What can I serve the kids during the birthday?
Wow. It's very nice of you to consider the other kids. Not everybody is always willing to do that. So that's really admirable. First of all, the first thing I would say is to ask the parent, because my son also has a really close friend who's severely allergic, and I don't want him to feel left out, and I don't want to make any mistakes. And even as a nutritionist, you know, again, it's so complicated with foods and the labeling. I always ask the mom, I say, oh, I want to make sure that your son or daughter has something to eat. What are some, and also what do they like? You know, sometimes you can find a snack that might be nut-free, like some kind of pretzel or potato chip, but the kid doesn't like it. So I would start by asking the mom, because she would be the best resource of what to get. But you do want to look for something that doesn't have any traces of nuts, and then you're really being safe. The child, I find that the child oftentimes won't accept anything because they have been taught to be very careful. Depending if they're 6 years old, they may just either bring their own food, or they eat before. They've already learned how to cope.
Yeah, but I would feel bad if a kid has to come with their own little cake
But
for the.
that might be what
So
they've been trained to do. Yeah.
try, and we all try. I would say, let's just keep the bamba out,
Yes. Just don't get nuts for sure.
especially in Israel. And yeah, just
Don't, yeah, use.
bake a cake, a chocolate cake. And that doesn't say in Israel, it says may contain. So just stay away from that. That is
If it
a
says,
recent law enforcement. And then just look at the labels.
yeah,
Look at the
read
labels.
the labels, and the less packaged items, the better, but you'll be fine. If you ask the mom and you get like nut-free things, are usually things like potato chips, pretzels, and the cake, you can look at the ingredients that you use for the cake. There's always popsicles.
And kids like fruit.
Yeah, I was gonna say fruit. I always put that out first, because if you catch them when they're hungry, they'll eat fruits and vegetables, and then afterwards you put out the other stuff.
Right. So
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. And let's open it up for open questions. Like on the Zoom.
Oh, there was another question that came in. We kind of answered that one. Oh, about the chicken soup. And just today I was talking to someone about soup mix. And my mother-in-law, I've had so many people that say, what? No soup mix? How will it ever taste good? How do you make a chicken soup without soup mix? And how does this tie into what we're talking about? So first I'll address that, and then I'll let Sarah take over from really how to do it. But soup mixes fall into that category of processed foods. And when you look at packaged foods, we always tell you, read the label, the ingredients. People love to look at that nutrition label with the numbers and grams. I hate that part. The most important part is the actual ingredients. That tells you what's in it, what you're consuming. And if you see that ingredient list is full of multi-syllabic words, items, you don't even know what they are, why would you want to eat that? And soup mixes tend to have, they're getting better at making them shorter, but you'll still see that they oftentimes are sugar and oils that are not healthy, hydrogenated oils or processed oils are one of the first ingredients, starches, and it's really unnecessary, right, Sarah?
Right, absolutely. I want to say, but reading the labels is important also. That's also a recent law to write, it contains sugar in a high volume or salt in a high volume. Look at the labels, because we found
Ingredients.
yeah, look at the ingredients, because we found this label on sun-dried tomatoes,
Right.
which had no added sugar.
But there's a sticker here that's like a warning, a red sticker that tells you if it's high in sodium or high in sugar or high in trans fats. And they put one on sun-dried tomatoes. I thought it was going to be for sodium. It was actually for sugar.
Yeah,
And it didn't have, I thought, did they add sugar to it? It's so that they can be very deceiving and confusing. So really ingredients, what are you putting in? What is in that food you're eating before you just trust what's on the front of it? It actually gets very confusing.
okay, is there anyone who wants to ask questions? We're open for that.
As for the birthdays, do you have any products for birthdays, or you make anything special for birthdays?
We
Yes,
have-
absolutely. We make packages, we make cakes, birthday cakes. If it can't contain eggs or gluten or nuts, of course, yes.
Or just a
absolutely.
healthier, some people are just say, I just want it to be with good ingredients, and it may have a sweet, it might have sugar, but it's brown sugar and it's whole grain flour. So it can be anything to your desire. And we either deliver, we deliver. So we've delivered cakes. I think one holiday, one of the members of the family was having a birthday and they wanted to surprise them. So we delivered it to the family that they were going to be
Right.
eating at. And there was a cake waiting for that person for their birthday. Or we've done care packages, right? To
Right.
kids, like Kids and Gap programs, or are here visiting. And wasn't there someone who was here for the summer and the mom
Yeah,
wanted
yeah,
to give him a
yeah, it was
birthday
his birthday.
package? So we went out and bought things and made things so that they would have a fun package waiting for them.
so he
Yep.
could share with his friends,
Yeah.
actually, yeah,
Thanks,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
yeah,
Thanks.
thank you. What else?
First of all, we didn't even thank you all for coming. We really appreciate that you're here. And it looks like you may be from different parts of the world, which is also fun. Like we said, we're located in Israel, in Efrat. And as you can hear, we are bilingual, at least here we are fluent in English and Hebrew. So we cater to both both of those populations that live here or abroad. And is there anything, Sarah, you wanted to say about the new year? We're getting close to Rosh Hashanah.
So with the new year, we do have our menus already published even, ready, healthy, and ready to be accommodating of any specific needs. And we do deliver, and we're lining up, all of us. So again, we try to keep it as healthy as possible without compromising on the quality of food. There's no reason for the stigma of healthy food being bad or mediocre. It's actually delicious and our bodies love it.
Yeah.
So. And here's Fonda. Hi, Fonda.
Hi, Fonda. What is your opinion on store-bought non-dairy cheeses for someone who is lactose intolerant? I like that question. Wow. Okay. So yes, there are a lot of these dairy-free or lactose-free. Here there's more of the dairy-free products and lactose-free, but they're starting to do more of the lactose-free. First of all, what's the difference? Lactose-free does not mean dairy-free. Lactose-free might just, or low lactose, means that they've reduced the amount of lactose, which is the typical problem that people have with dairy, although it's not only, and I would love to talk about that too. But for people who are indeed lactose intolerant, you can find products that are lower in lactose so that they can tolerate the dairy product. Then there are products that are completely dairy-free, like a lot of the cheeses that are out now. So a lot of those cheeses, they might be dairy-free, but they're not always healthy. Sometimes
Right.
they just put oils in instead.
They're
Sometimes,
very processed. and
Yeah.
We could talk about the pea protein, which has become also
Yeah.
very popular, but let's answer
Yeah.
Fonda first.
so, well, it kind of, yeah, it does go in there. So they're usually made with coconut oil, which has been touted to be so healthy, but when it's processed, not so much anymore. But the problem is also that cheeses are oftentimes used as a protein, like in a sandwich or, something to add protein to your meal. And most of them do not have protein unless they're soy-based, and then they're oftentimes even more processed. So it's tricky. There are some that might have good ingredients, but they may not have protein. So I would say limit them. Don't rely on them for a protein source. you feel like you want cheese, you can't tolerate regular cheese, you want a little treat, something, have a slice. I wouldn't say base your diet on them or feed it to your kid instead of grilled cheese, hoping that it's giving them protein. It may not be recommended. So about this pea protein, they're putting
Yeah.
it in a lot of stuff. They're putting it in these fake meat substitutes and also in cheeses and some of,
It's also a good binder.
yeah, I mean, it has many uses, but they basically, it is processed. They've extracted what they wanted from the poor little pea and they have processed it, and not everyone tolerates it well, and it's not as healthy as eating peas, unfortunately. So just beware of how many products, if you are using some of these alternatives so that you can have something, just pay attention to how much pea protein you're getting in there, because you usually don't want that to be the main protein. Should
Right.
try to get less processed protein sources.
But I would also say, Fonda, get a few raw cashews, soak
Mhm.
them in water, and blend them with some almond milk, and you'll have your cheese, which
Yeah.
is much healthier. It's not processed. And
If
it's
a first,
delicious.
right, first spreadable cheese
Right.
or that kind of alternative, if you add some lemon, garlic, and brewer's yeast, we add to it to give it a cheesy flavor. You can make your own, at least cheese spreads. There are courses on
Thank
how.
you.
Oh, you're welcome. How to make
I'm
hard.
gonna get the nochi tomorrow with the cashew based cheese I ordered
Right.
from HealthEat. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that.
Yes, we make our own cashew cheese alternative. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
I want to say something.
Yes.
I'm Esther Hoffman.
Hi,
Hi,
Esther.
Esther.
Yeah, so I just want to say I just enjoyed your food. I've been a client and I hope to continue. And the food was amazing. I'm a diabetic. Speaking to Judy, working with Sarah, they made me beautiful menus every week, and it was such a joy. And it was so much fun, and I really expanded my horizon in types of foods that I can make myself. And I'm still longing for the pumpkin. I was the blondies. I'm dreaming about it. But I thank you. It was well worthwhile, and I hope to continue.
Yeah.
And we loved meeting Esther, and we loved meeting Fonda. We've interacted with different people here, and it's always a
So
pleasure.
nice. There's another question if you want.
Sure,
Okay.
absolutely.
You talk a lot about different kinds of diets, mostly vegan and vegetarian. What about keto and paleo?
Oh, well, we don't
Okay,
forget
let's
about
go.
the, just whatever's fresh in our mind. We've also, yes, we've had some clients who come to us and they're either on the keto diet or paleo diet, and they want to continue. And we of course respect those decisions. We, again, listen to all their health situation and their needs and why they want to do these things, do these types of diets, and we help them make it balanced and healthy for them. So
Right.
we've done
So,
lots.
so the first question that I have for someone who comes to us and says, well, I'm on the keto diet because it's so popular and I think I'm gonna lose those 10 pounds that I'm trying to lose. I say with the little bit of knowledge that I have in nutrition, so I have Judy, is keto is not for everyone. And I will allow you, please, to talk about it because it's very restrictive and it really is not for everyone, as well as the paleo diet. So,
Right, and any diet, there's a lot of diets out there, and they can be done healthfully, but they aren't necessarily for everyone. I'll just give one example of someone actually who was a client of mine before I started working with HealthEat, but I remember that. They were a young man who was really needing to lose weight. I mean, his doctor was recommending it. It wasn't just for vanity purposes. He really needed to lose weight, and he was struggling with it and had some mental health issues and on medications and things like that that don't help the situation. And we were considering the keto diet, and I hesitated because it's not always recommended for people definitely with mental health issues or people in general, because without having enough carbohydrates in your diet, you also may limit the production of certain hormones like serotonin, which is important for mood. So, and that was a case where we did like a gradual, let's try to reduce the carbohydrates. And it got to a point where he felt a difference and he felt like, you know what, this is not good for me. So
Right.
that could be one situation. Another one could be anyone who
high
has
cholesterol.
yeah, they have heart disease, high cholesterol. It can help reduce cholesterol, but you have to look at how it's reduced, what it's reducing. Is it reducing the good cholesterol? But it tends to elevate the cholesterol because it's based on animal products. Or
And
people
fat
and
and
fats,
yeah.
right, and saturated fats predominantly. There are also people that might have a tendency or predisposition to kidney or liver issues. And it is a lot harder on those organs when you're eating a lot of animal protein based diet. That being said, there are people that there's a woman that worked with us for many years and we tried a lot of different things and she really did only see success with weight loss when she was keto, and then eventually she had to adjust back to a low carbohydrate diet and quality
that's when she
carbohydrates.
was successful, actually, with that weight
plateaued,
loss.
Right, she lost and then she plateaued and it started creeping up and we needed to modify her diet, not so strong on the keto, and incorporate some healthy carbohydrates. So everybody's different and all these diets can have a place depending on who you are and what your goals are.
Esther says, please post your phone number.
Oh,
Okay.
please post your phone numbers. Okay.
We will.
Now,
Okay, we don't only provide food, we also provide Judy's nutrition advising services as part of HealthEat services. So if anyone is interested in that, you're more than welcome to contact us. And people have seen themselves get helped really with
Just
With
advice,
Judy's
yeah, just advice
expertise.
and coaching. On the flip side, we don't also force any nutrition consultation on you. There's people who just order food because Sarah's a chef and she does wonderful events also. So we really have a lot of different services that we provide. But this is the one maybe we're most passionate about and see them, and it's the most meaningful probably, can be.
a last question for you. You posted earlier today about frozen smoothies. Do you have any more ideas for summery snacks?
For summer snacks?
Yes.
Oh, summer snacks, watermelon, fruit.
melon.
You can, I mean, you could do a lot with fruit, and I'm sure you've, many of you've heard of this and tried this, like whether it's, like skewers of different kinds of fruits, or just, fruit salads, or the smoothies, bowls. We also make a bowl, which is really like a thicker smoothie, but it can be like a fruit-based bottom, and then you can add toppings to it, whether
Like
it's crushed nuts or
granola,
granola,
nuts.
coconut, chocolate chips, raisins, whatever you.
Esther had that.
Yeah, she liked it. So that would be fruit stuff. There, look, I have to say, there's always vegetables, and any parents out there with kids who may not always want or eat vegetables, catch them when they're hungry, like put out a big platter of colorful vegetables and put it there when they're hungry, and that's a great snack, and it's really nourishing. And you can also do combinations of vegetables with cheese cubes, or vegetables with hummus, or vegetables with yogurt. I mean, there's different combinations. Sarah makes wonderful muffins that are nutritious, that incorporate whether it's blueberries or apple or
Or
carrot.
the pumpkin
nuts,
blondies.
The pumpkin blondies that are really yummy, the wadding.
Yeah,
So there are also those kinds of things, and you can make them with your children or make them for your children. Crackers.
yeah.
We do crackers that are based on nut meal, like almond meal. And we have beet crackers that, as much as you think you don't like beets, many people have tried these and they love them, even though they're not beet fans. Yeah, we see
And
some
they didn't
not
turn into beet lovers, by the way. They just like
the
these
beet
crackers,
right?
which are plant-based and of course vegan. And we use the buckwheat flour for them.
Or though you've done it with the oat flour too.
The oat
yeah,
flour
either
too.
one.
Yeah, and I like the consistency of them, and they are healthy, so.
Oh, or even chips. It's a little, look, a lot of people have air fryers now, so you can do like chips out of sweet potato, carrot, kohlrabi,
Beets.
zucchini. You can create colorful chips. And it can be just as simple as nuts and raisins for those that's appropriate for. Yeah.
Okay, are there any other questions from our friends here?
Or comments.
Right? Of course.
Okay, so I do know,
No. We're done.
Okay.
Okay, well, I was just gonna say that this has been recorded, so, right, it'll still be available. The
Yeah.
recording, okay, is everyone.
We're gonna send it to the people who were registered.
Yes,
This is very exciting. Thank you very, very much for joining us, and we will continue.
right, we look
Thank you,
forward to,
Judy.
you're welcome, and there will be other lives with different friends and guests, so stay tuned for our next live, which I think is coming up very soon.
Yeah, next week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
welcome.
much. Good night. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Good night.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bakasha.